We are on the fourth day of Chair Poetry Evening. We had a wonderful time the last 3 days. We had so many poets from around the world and India itself. We have listened to them and I hope you have all enjoyed. Today is the last day of the festival and we do have 5 amazing poets lined up for today also.
The first poet of this evening is Farrukh Tondi. He was born in Pune in 1944. From 1968 to 1978, Tondi worked as a further education lecturer and school teacher in Midlands, London, before entering television. From 1984 to 1997, Tondi worked as commissioning editor, multicultural program for Channel 4 TV UK. From 1997 to 2002, Tondi worked as a freelance journalist and writer, contributing to articles to Indian newspapers and magazines like The Pioneer, Asian Age, and India Today. In 2002, he joined a film company based in India, Kaleidoscope International. His literary output is immense. His most recent works are the novel The Prophet of Love, which was published in 2013, the play Devdas, which premiered in London in 2013, and a collection of translation of Rumi published in 2014. Let us now hear Farrukh Tondi.
I'm happy to be here, though I don't call myself a poet. I'd rather be labeled a versifier, somebody who uses the charms and possibilities of language to perhaps write something that people might read or listen to. Poetry, of course, has a different dimension. I have done translations of Rumi into English, and perhaps I should demonstrate what poetry does by reading you some of Rumi's verses as I have translated them. This one is called The Word. Zuleika had a secret. Every word or phrase she spoke in secret always referred to her beloved Yusuf. If she said, "The moon is out tonight," she meant instead to say she loved him. When she said, "Alo," or spice or bread, her confidants would know that it was code for Yusuf. Every phrase a tribute to his beauty and his ways. You could say, and by now you may have guessed, that Zuleika lived a life that was obsessed. With Yusuf, she had turned the very gift of speech to magic, making meanings drift and making words say what they never meant. The blandest phrases turned to sentiment and thoughts in praise of Yusuf. When she cursed aloud, she meant she wanted time reversed to once again the hour they last met, when parting made her words turn to regret. His was the name that every morning burst from her lips and quenched her every thirst. His name would warm Zuleika in the cold, and just so, all believers should be told that when you seek salvation for your soul, you merge into the ocean of the whole. So lover and beloved are the same. Your Zuleika is merely Yusuf's name. And even though your linguist thinks it odd, all pronouncements are one. The word is God, the syllable that permeates all things, exploding stars and songs the robin sings. Right? I now read some of my own verse. This one is called 5 Ways. It's in 5 parts. 1. New shoes, worn without socks, scraped the backs of our heels, shedding flakes of garlic skin below the watermarked ankle. Our knees, perennially scab brown, mercurochrome red, iodine violet, or friar's balsam purple. Taboos in stoppered glass files, the alternatives stung, smarted, put to instantaneous death the nerves of pain from the uncertain balances of pre-pubic play. 2. There's a bone beneath the skin of the heel, so it must be a very slim shaft that can pierce it and drain away your proud life. Yes, He deserved it, dragging the vanquished body in ignominy in the mud, asking for it. No record of the half-immortal's last words remain, but only the question of why he wore the armored shoe that day on the wrong foot. 3. Shot in the stomach, its guts hanging out. Then again behind an ear, the unsteady hand of the municipal dog shooter with his licensed gun, khaki bullet pouch and alert boredom doing the damage, sending the creature round and round a dance with his jaw stretched like a catapult, the screeches fading from the open throat, condemned by excessive spit to the sentence for rabies. My grandaunt took to her bed. Her ambit, its soiled sheets, and the wooden commode evacuated each day by the untouchable. The skin under her chin hung like a dug, and she held it as she was dying. No flesh, she said, in Gujarati. All gone. This is Bochu. Only Bochu. All that's left. 5. God's sins. He shot a monkey king when his back was turned. True warriors don't do that, though gods define the truth. The jealousy or the imagination supplying the unbearable, his woman under the pumping demon. Walk through fire, prove yourself, when gods can make fire as cold as ice. This next one is a bit more personal. It's called 28 times. I eat slowly, take my time to finish a meal. It began when, doubled up with stomach pain at the age of 8 or 9, I was taken to a Parsi doctor Frenchman. He said it was amoebic and he'd give me something for it. Assist your stomach, Farooq. Chew every mouthful 28 times. Don't swallow before you do. I diligently did as instructed. The pain began to recede. As I grew, the injunction passed into some recess of my mind, and the performance of 28 required no arithmetical count. The jaws performed their circus act, like lions whipped to climb on stools or elephants standing on rear legs. 28 relegated me to the last at every table. The gathering of a family meal, a naujot or a wedding feast, and even at university, inevitably the last to leave when plates were clatteringly cleared by impatient attendants in Pembroke's Hall, I was left chewing my 28s, swallowing slowly to forestall the memory of amoebic ache. And now, when fellow diners are done and the desserts gone and all depart to pursuits that routine assigns, I meditate upon the fate of all those who chew on their own, with dinner still upon my plate and never now counting to 28. And here is a slightly philosophical poem which goes into 13 or 14 parts, but I'll read you a couple before my time is up. Sacha Peer, the true seer, is what it's called. 1. A large brass vase, 1,000,000 candles round it. A moth flies between them, casting its moving shadow, inhabiting the curvature, shades of the moon passing between the sun and the blessings of this crumpled earth. As the moth seeks its doom in contracting circles and twisting figures of 8, its shadow dances on the surface of the vase, knowing only the light and nothing of the dark hollow within, the void of its third dimension. Its shadow knows nothing of the moth's trepid circlings. For it, there is no space, no thickness. The surface is its universe, and circumference of the vase its straight line. Thus Krishna to Arjun, your fear is that moth, its shadow your consciousness, living on the vase of Maya. The shadow has no inkling of those million flames, no wind of a depth beyond its flatness. The shadows of trees are bound to their trunks, yet know nothing of their existence, doomed to disappear each sunset. No glimpse, no evidence, but analogy. And so with us. Part 2. Time stretches. Time is measured by motion, by change, by growth. It bestows, it takes, but what is it? All space, the up and down and to acrosses, the rotating scarecrow with arms outstretched, 3 crosses on a hill waiting. Was Arjun then reconciled to kill through this primitive physics lesson? The shadow will never know the void, though the moth, defiant, can dive into it, defying the attraction, the flame. Then no more shadow, same to same, the only mantra embracing all. And the last one, a short personal poem. It's called Baba's Mirror. In the Baba's chair, chopped pieces of myself snow on a black shroud. Half an hour to stare across the mirrored shelf and listen to his loud recollection of his trip last weekend to Brighton Pier and asking where I went. I say I had to skip any such outings this year. He moans his daughters spent their days in the arcade, gambling all their cash on one-armed fruit machines. He fixes a fresh blade to trim my white moustache, then wipes it on his jeans. His drone is automatic. He probably tells the same anecdote to all his clients. Psychosomatic visions, wild and tame, from behind memory's wall, confront me as I stare through the barber shop glass, cascading like the years. Thank you.
The second poet that we have today is Aditi Basu Roy, who is a Bengali poet with 6 books of poetry and 1 book of prose to her credit. Her awards include Mallika Sengupta Award, Purba Paschim Sahitya Samman, Amitesh Maiti Shriti Purishkar, and Shrot Sahitya Samman. She is a journalist by profession. Let us hear some poems of Aditi Basu Roy.
Pandemic. First wave. When India started walking, I was busy with brewing coffee. My country walked for long. Benares, Delhi, Jaipur walked together. At that moment, my table and my kitchen was full of various dishes, fruits, rice, and my countrymen did not even get a drop of water. India crossed 100 miles, 200 miles, 500 miles by walking. Roads were hot and long. These roads cared of my imported cars. So I switched on air conditioning for being class apart. India patiently waits in front of luxurious shopping malls. India patiently waits in the queue of the ration shop for 48 hours. And finally, could not help tears after securing only 2 rotis. Privileged me, in this moment, open my Facebook and I write a mourning status due to this hardship of my motherland. But my motherland never cared for social networking. She only cares for guests. She loves to serve starving children from years. She titles guests as God. She considers distress as Allah. She meets peace in unity, and me, my concept of success is being rich, is being selfish as well. I meet happiness with 1K like in Facebook. India smiles at my childish pleasure, as a mother always does to her ignorant child. COVID, second wave. Death news of one after another reminds me our habituated earth. At that time, before COVID, we used to roam freely, unmasked and fearlessly. We visited garden, mountain, river bank, and now the river carries dead bodies, ashes and bones. Now there are no good morning wish, there are no happy faces to see. And now we make habit to hide tears. We make habit to close the door. We make habit to refuse friends to come in after sunset. Even moonlight is scared to set in. The siren of ambulance is the only sound we can listen instead of calling bell. The final hope. Ultimately, you will survive and cross the pandemic and all. I crown you life. I crown you unfulfilled desires and the songs of new dawn. The life you achieve from the ashes and wings of death. Just love it. Cherish the days ahead. And remember, there is nothing to lose except bread, water, and love. After sunset, sometimes you get to notice sudden arrival of clouds. No worries. They are the first shadow of the lost flowers. Enjoy them and accept the blessings of the firmament. Only this is called the heritage of human life. Love it, preserve it, respect it. Curse. I will take a snake bite. I will receive a lot of rage and lava. You guys go play with the moon in the forest of sour fruits. It suits all of you to sit on the floor and eat. I belong to a clan of monsters. I come from the lineage of Saturn. I dictate my empire by holding undisciplined swords, sow my fingers and shout like a madman, and sip from the glass of alcohol and my own self. Curse 2. In the first phase of month of Falgun, raging Kalboishaki combat through their scrams. Demoids don't know. My cycle started the day I saw Allen Ginsberg in my dreams, because I tied a bastard jackal on my feet. It feels satisfied smelling a pin kimono. According to its instincts, the jackal cheats, of course. I mean, who remembers the desolate forest and bodies while taking rounds in their wedding? Hence, in that auspicious moment, it doesn't want the jackal to taste the nectar of immortality. Which Annapurna is it? Which goddess is it? Tell me. The essential bit. You and your collected are with me. I have kept you in my savings account. I have kept you in my life. And I will give you a change little by little. Don't worry. Throughout my life. On some finger, I'll keep a lotus. And on some other finger, in our sins committed in an inauspicious moment, we'll reveal both our assembled self. In our act of self-destruction, the entire neighborhood will be shocked and explode the area in front of our doorstep. I don't want you in my entire city. In the same way, I can drink alcohol without water. I don't want you anywhere in my periphery. Sometimes I desire lips made of gold, sometimes attraction rooted in the soul. I love you. I love to have you and your collected art with me. I have kept you in my savings account. I will give you as change little by little all my life.
The third poet of this evening is Prabhat. He is an Indian poet writing in Hindi. He was born in 1972 in Rajasthan. He is the author of Apno Mein Nahi Rahe Pani Ka Geet, which won Sahitya Akademi and Jeevan Ke Din. He was awarded Yuva Kavita Samay Samman in 2012 and Shrijnath Makhanj Sahitya Puraskar in 2010 and Big Little Book Award in 2019. Let us now hear from Prabhat.
मेरी पहली कविता है काम। नदी का काम कितना अलग है पेड़ के काम से। नदी का काम कितना अलग है पेड़ के काम से। पगडंडी का काम कितना अलग है खेत के काम से। इनके साथ साथ किसान और नाव खेलने वाले भी कितना लीन रहते हैं अपने अपने काम में। नदी का काम कितना अलग है पेड़ के काम से। पगडंडी का काम कितना अलग है खेत के काम से। इनके साथ साथ किसान और नाव खेलने वाले भी कितना लीन रहते हैं अपने अपने काम में। झरने और तालाब अपनी अपनी जिम्मेदारियों को पूरा करने में डूबे रहते हैं। सूखी घासों के उजास से घोंसला बुनते हैं बया। मनुष्यों के भरोसे तो धुएं से जलता आसमान। बारिश करती है महीनों धुलाई, रखती है नया। ऐसा लगता है पहाड़ों के पास नहीं है कुछ भी काम, पर वे जगह देते हैं अपने कदीमी वृक्षों में लालटेनों की तरह टंगी बकरियों और तेंदुओं को। ऐसा लगता है पहाड़ों के पास नहीं है कुछ भी काम, पर वे जगह देते हैं अपने कदीमी वृक्षों में लालटेनों की तरह टंगी बकरियों और तेंदुओं को। ढलानों से आवाज़ लगाते हुए उतरते चरवाहों को। घरों आंगनों में चित्र उकेरने के लिए खड़िया मांगती आदिवासी युवतियों को। कुछ अलग ही तरह के काम हैं खदानों और तेल के कुओं के पास। सुंदर सुंदर कामों की कैसी सुंदर बनावट है कायनात में। चांद के नीचे उड़ते पक्षियों को देखते सोचते रहता हूँ अक्सर रात में। कुछ अलग ही तरह के काम हैं खदानों और तेल के कुओं के पास। सुंदर सुंदर कामों की कैसी सुंदर बनावट है कायनात में। चांद के नीचे उड़ते पक्षियों को देखते सोचते रहता हूँ अक्सर रात में। सोच में डूब जाता हूँ, कभी कभी तो नींद उचट जाती है। चींटियों की सेनाओं से ज़्यादा उम्मीद है पृथ्वी को राष्ट्रपतियों की सेनाओं के बजाय। चींटियों की सेनाओं से ज़्यादा उम्मीद है पृथ्वी को राष्ट्रपतियों की सेनाओं के बजाय। दूसरी कविता है एक बार बात। जब मेरी चिता सजेगी शमशान में बैठे लोगों से कहूँगा, अरे अब तो इतनी फ्री कॉलिंग है, मेरी रंजीता से बात करवा दो, वो मेरे साथ काम करती थी। शन्नों से बात करवा दो, उससे मेरी पत्नी बहुत जलती थी। जब मेरी चिता सजेगी शमशान में बैठे लोगों से कहूँगा, अरे अब तो इतनी फ्री कॉलिंग है, मेरी रंजीता से बात करवा दो, वो मेरे साथ काम करती थी। शन्नों से बात करवा दो, उससे मेरी पत्नी बहुत जलती थी। पर मैं जानता हूँ कोई नहीं करवाएगा अंतिम समय में उनसे कोई बात, जिन्हें चाहते हुए टिक गया इतने दिन पृथ्वी पर पेड़ की तरह। एक और कविता है, एक सुख था। मृत्यु से बहुत डरने वाली बुआ के बिल्कुल सामने आकर बैठ गई थी मृत्यु। मृत्यु से बहुत डरने वाली बुआ के बिल्कुल सामने आकर बैठ गई थी मृत्यु। किसी विकराल काली बिल्ली की तरह सबको बहुत साफ दिखाई और सुनाई देती हुई, मगर तब भी अपनी मृत्यु से कुछ क्षण पहले तक भी उतनी ही हंसोड़ बनी रही बुआ। मगर तब भी अपनी मृत्यु से कुछ क्षण पहले तक भी उतनी ही हंसोड़ बनी रही बुआ। अपने पूरे अतीत को ऐसे सुनाती रही जैसे वह कोई लघु हास्य नाटिका हो। यह एक दृश्यांत सी काफ़ी होगा जिसमें बुआ के देखते देखते निष्प्राण हो गए फूफा। गांव में कोई नहीं था। पक्षी भी जैसे सब के सब किसानों के साथ ही चले गए गांव खाली कर खेतों और जंगलों में। कैसा रहा होगा पूरे गांव में सिर्फ एक जीवित और एक मृतक का होना। कैसा रहा होगा पूरे गांव में सिर्फ एक जीवित और एक मृतक का होना। कैसे किया होगा दोनों ने एक दूसरे का सामना। इससे पहले कि जीवन छोड़ दे, मरणासन्न को खाट से नीचे उतार लेने का रिवाज है। बुआ बहुत सोचने के बावजूद ऐसा नहीं कर सकी। अकेली थी और फूफा मरने के बाद भी उनसे कतई उठने वाले नहीं थे। जाने क्या सोच बुआ ने मरने के बाद खाट को टेढ़ा कर फूफा को जमीन पर लुढ़का दिया। अब रोती तो कोई सुनने वाला नहीं था। बिना सुनने वालों के पहली बार रो रही थी वह जीवन में। अब रोती तो कोई सुनने वाला नहीं था और बिना सुनने वालों के पहली बार रो रही थी वह जीवन में। इस अजीब सी बात की ओर ध्यान जाते ही रोते रोते हंसी फूट पड़ी बुआ की। बुआ जीवन में रोने के लंबे अनुभव और अभ्यास के बावजूद चाह कर भी रो न सकी। मृतक के पास वह जीवित बैठी रही सूर्यास्त की प्रतीक्षा करती हुई। इस तरह जीवन को चुटकुलों की तरह सुनाने वाली बुआ के जीवन का चुटकुला 85 वर्ष की बखूब अवस्था में जब पूरा हो गया, कुछ लोग हंसे, कुछ ने गीत गाए, कुछ को आई रुलाई। बूढ़ी बुआ हमारे जीवन में अभी भी है, उतनी ही अटपटी, उतनी ही भोली, उतनी ही गंवाई, मगर खेत की मेड़ के गिर गए रूप सी कभी भी नहीं दिखाई देती हुई। यह बात भी अब तो 4 साल पुरानी हुई। यह बात भी अब तो 4 बरस पुरानी हुई। 4 बरस पहले एक सुख था जीवन में। सफ़र। दुख में गाफिल उस युवती ने बच्चे को गोद में लिया। दुख में गाफिल उस युवती ने बच्चे को गोद में लिया और रेल में बैठ गई सुख के स्टेशन पर उतरने के लिए। सफ़र इसका शीर्षक है। दुख में गाफिल उस युवती ने बच्चे को गोद में लिया और रेल में बैठ गई सुख के स्टेशन पर उतरने के लिए। स्टेशन भी आया, वह उतरी भी वहाँ, मगर चाहा गया सुख उसके लिए घना दुख बना बैठा था, जिससे मिलकर वह यातना से इतना भर गई कि उसने बच्चे को गोद में लिया और रेल में बैठ गई दुख के स्टेशन पर उतरने के लिए, जहाँ से वह रेल में चढ़ी थी। उसने बच्चे को गोद में लिया और रेल में बैठ गई दुख के स्टेशन पर उतरने के लिए, जहाँ से वह रेल में चढ़ी थी। एक आखिरी कविता है और इस कविता का शीर्षक है अलविदा। अलविदा। हम जीवित रहे तो आंसू पोंछेंगे एक दूसरे के, हम जीवित रहे तो छाया देंगे एक दूसरे को। हम जीवित रहे तो आंसू पोंछेंगे एक दूसरे के, हम जीवित रहे तो छाया देंगे एक दूसरे को। हम जीवित रहे तो बरसेंगे एक दूसरे के सूखे में, हम जीवित रहे तो सपने भेजेंगे उपहार में। हम जीवित रहे तो बरसेंगे एक दूसरे के सूखे में, हम जीवित रहे तो सपने भेजेंगे उपहार में। फिलहाल घिरी है पृथ्वी चिताओं से, फिलहाल आग देने में व्यस्त हैं हाथ। फिलहाल कब्र खोदने में लगे हैं हाथ, ताकि सुला सकें चैन से प्रियजनों को। फिलहाल एक ही शब्द बचा है पृथ्वी पर, अलविदा। जो भी रहेंगे जीवित देखेंगे इस शब्द को थक कर चूर होते अपनी छाया में गिरते। जो भी रहेंगे जीवित देखेंगे इस शब्द को थक कर चूर होते अपनी छाया में गिरते। धन्यवाद।
The next poet we have is Choitali Chattopadhyay. She has been born and brought up in our very own Kolkata. She studied physics as a major at college. She has worked in various fields of creative world, including copywriting and advertising. Especially a poet, she is also a story writer and an essayist. She has authored several books in Bengali and is a regular columnist for leading newspapers and popular magazines. She is the recipient of several prestigious governmental and non-governmental awards. Let us now hear from Choitali Chattopadhyay.
Me, Choitali Chattopadhyay from Kolkata. Good evening all. I'd like to welcome everyone to this wonderful event. I am very pleased and fortunate to be a part of this Chair Poetry evening. I would like to thank everyone for providing me this opportunity to read to you a few of my poems translated from Bangla and the language in which I speak and write. I hope you like them. Durga, the goddess. Let me write about that girl, she who has tried to bring down dreams from the sky with a hook pole and mix them in her cooking. Her man and she is his wife, and his hand have messed up all the oil, salt of her cooking. The girl has had to erase her dream time and again. Let me write of the girl, she who with her hook pole has brought down smile and laughter from the sky and scattered them on the streets. As the evenings set in, curious people, suspicious people have raised their fingers and called her slut. The girl put out her smiles. Let me write her, she who has brought down celebration from the sky and poured it all on paper. Her beatific male friends, without any sense of shame, tore out her tongue. The girl went to sleep. It really does not matter whether I write about this girl or not. The day comes and this woman herself metamorphoses. Second poem, Kinnori, which means actually transgender. No, I am here not to invoke any tale of auspicious grace. No, furtive fragrance exudes femininity from my armpits. When I try and fantasize about male love and male genitals, my tits do not react the way all my friends' teeth do. My mother always dresses me in kurti. My aunt brings lingerie for me. I return all the furtive glances that our maid give me every day. My father once declared with a wry smile that he had no saving in the bank, savings made for my marriage. In the process, he cursed my birth and spat in shame, perhaps. The man and his fat wife who live in the flat on the other side of the road keep looking at me from behind the curtains. The rogue-like man standing on the road keeps staring at me open-mouthed for a long time and then waves at somebody, calls him to join him. Somebody from the tea shop gives a shout, "Hey, you got any cunt?" No, I do not shed tears. Only when they will arrive and will begin to clap, I, who have been waiting in the balcony for long, I, who have turned into a spring afternoon in the process, shall become one with them in their dance. Bankipur 2019. Actually, Bankipur is a small sea town. I traveled and wrote this poem. Bangla as if it's an old song. Even in closeness, lyrics to hold off. With country chicken's curry on my plate, I frowned and looked through the window. Pitch black. There you are, the locals exclaimed. I know it's good to feel captivated. Captivation rolls out towards a vacuum and delivers art. I live in distrust all night, wrapped in darkness all night long, and in early dawn the sea rushed in like a young lover. Schizophrenia. Friends call me crazy. Should I keep pegging my nails with a stooped head or mock back like a rascal? The flowers I sent to you the other day, the florist called me to say no one lives in that address. And Shangita, she also betrayed me. I identified you for her right in front of the coffee house. But she told me after coming home, what are you talking about? I didn't see anyone. Doctor also said that the same thing. You don't exist, just my imagination. In these moments, how astonishingly you move away from my side. I want to brand you as shrewd, but I feel scared, as if grief hits my core. Women's lib. At midnight, it feels good to keep the lights on. I open my wardrobe, bring out my wings from the folded clothes, and spread them on the floor. I polish their works and then I place them back so that one day I can just fly away. A woman's journal. 6:10, he turns again in bed. I stuff tiffin into the child's box. Quick, quick, the school bus is in. I am in a rush, hot footing. I am my child's age. 8:25, with tea and sunlight, I wake him. Slow rumbles of hunger revving up. Hell, I'd better pack him off with lunch in the mini box. Goodness me, shall I miss the train again? 16 past 11. Don't disturb. Sign hanging outside the boss's room. Briefing over. The boss goes his route, rubbing away his feet onto mine. 2 past 2, and with Mitali for the lunch. Leaves flying, look blank. What tree eats? Shimul or Polash? Shall we bet? Then a Chinese treat. 30 to 7, much to walk back home. He invites a friend for dinner. My feet ache, and the hilsha of the dimming rail market for the guest. 6 past 9. He is not yet back. He will soon, or will he? I am doctored. The dinner table's ready. He is yet to show up. With thirsty eyes, I keep the friend engaged in gossips. Tang of the mustard breathes all over the house. 15 to 12. I feel the throb. Feel myself. My hand lolls over his body, but no light burns. That very thing, or the drip of blood on the pillow? Detective poem. Skins whom the she had touched someday, they couldn't bear the sweet water anymore. Perfume about the kiss. Her husband, her lowered lips were slit by a shell. Maybe looking for dark and the rays from the lighthouse, first turned to the left and then right, making her more oblivious. Thus, when countless tensions accumulate from salt, the household remains unprotected. Those bodies where the sea has penetrated once, they didn't find time to leave suicide notes behind. White page to view. White page, I will buy you a chandelier. Do not seek to fly away. If you fly away, how will I tell fairy tales to the sick little girl? On whose ankles will I tie the ghostly bells? Now, in this peaceful afternoon, you want to cover your wings the gunpowder and flee somewhere. Come, let us go to the kitchen. In the soft light of the soot-filmed bulb, like a good person, you make the dough and I will sit and roll it out. Dear white page, listen. When I die, someday, for God's sake, speak the word I did not say. Actually, this poem, The White Page to You, is broken into some parts. I just read the first portion, now the second. Then from within you may begin to be visible this particular universe. Do not keep any more guards, only a little weeping. Drowning the pain, I now introduce you to the letter A. White page, like a shower of blossom, you will have to deal with insults. The third portion. Meanwhile, you have stood there like a clown. In what tumultuous darkness faces are covered with the deception of lies, with faithlessness. Are these our kins, friends? But why do you seem like an executioner? White page, make yourself heard. This is the last time. I will never ask you again. The fourth and lust for she. With the suppressed indifference of a gambler, I acknowledge these indications of direction. I tell you, White Page, the corpse face I stumbled over today in the crow-dawn darkness has a mark drawn on its lips like my brother. Will you give it long life? Kashimitra Ghat. Murky water has overflowed the banks, the flight of steps. Aware of this disorder, has descended step by step to the netherworld. You wanted to go down in the distance a tree to dressed like Bhairavi, sat alone, and just then consciousness returned. Because you saw weeping from very close by. Perhaps the great festival was not enjoyable, only an inauspicious time. The cremation ground, holding you by the hair tuft, took and pushed you toward death. In the darkness, widened eyes, a laugh turning the blood to water. Not a goddess, humanity's greed, covered with guile, returned again and again. You gave no offering, yet give her your two empty hands. Dark. In the meadow, grasses of the road which heads to death, I string my relationships like milestones, and insects grow up in channels. Fear, detachment breeds. There is no such hope whatsoever, not even such a glimmer in the farmhouse, that I'll take you there and abandon by that road. Oh God, only shivers are spreading one after another. Hiding my sight, I am pining to go back today to my own forest. Thank you all.
The last poet of the evening is Marcio Andre Souza Haas from Rio de Janeiro. He is a multimedia artist whose work includes poetry, essay, performance, digital art and cinema. His poetry has been translated into more than 20 languages. He is the publisher and co-founder of Confraria do Vento, through which he has published Intradoxis in 2007, Radioactive Essays in 2008 and the novel Leonardo contra Pari in 2016. In 2015, one of his works was nominated for the prestigious Brazilian Jabuti Prize and the Oceanos Prize. Marcio Andre was awarded a scholarship from the Brazilian National Library Foundation in 2008 for his book of essays, Poetic of the Houses. In 2007, he performed a suicide performance entitled Conference Poetic Radioactive of Pripyat in Chernobyl, during which he read his poems for 6 hours amongst the ruins, risking contamination by cesium-137 and strontium-90. He has performed his experimental multimedia poetry in several cities around the world and has directed short films including Man in the Crowd and several others. Today he has something special to offer. Souza Haas has shared with us one of his acclaimed poetry films, which we are delighted to present as the last program for this year's Chair Poetry Evenings.
Obrigado, Senhor, por estar do nosso lado. Obrigado, Senhor, por aniquilar nossos inimigos. Obrigado, Senhor, por disseminar o ódio e a devastação entre os que merecem. Obrigado, Senhor, por limpar a terra com o genocídio necessário dos que nos odeiam. por lustrar o chão da sala com a cera dos miolos dos maus pensamentos, por amansar toda uma raça e fazer a raça amansada amansar outras raças, por privar do sono quem nos tira o sono. Obrigado, Senhor, por assar com gilete o pão de quem nos rouba a comida, por nos ofertar a brutalidade como entretenimento, por não matar tão rapidamente, por vir dissecar sob declarações de amor. Obrigado, Senhor, por tornar o homicídio um ato criativo, por nos dar prazer ao infligir a dor, por não molestar somente o corpo, mas também o espírito, por buscar o espírito dentro da cabeça e apagá-lo com amoníaco, por trincar os ossos até restar um pó fino que possamos cheirar, por arrancar vísceras com os dentes, por arrancar dentes com o martelo para nos proteger, por esmagar a mão de futuros assassinos quando ainda são inocentes. Obrigado, Senhor, por gotejar ácido nítrico nos olhos dos que nos olham torto, por decepar o globo ocular dos que não nos olham, por calcificar a língua dos que nos amaldiçoam, por dar a chance de nos masturbar sobre o cadáver do adversário. Obrigado, Senhor, por levar a miséria a quem não nos cai bem, por criar máquinas que exterminam humanamente, por levar a bactéria a quem nos inveja, por criar a vingança, por nos ensinar a generosidade interessada como alternativa à indiferença. Obrigado, Senhor, por humilhar quem não nos entende, por dar utilidade aos corpos processados e fermentados inúteis, por estuprar a alma daqueles cujos corpos são também inúteis, por não nos deixar saber quando assassinam por nós, por amputar os braços dos que não queremos abraçar. Obrigado, Senhor, por gestar fetos disformes na barriga das mulheres que não amamos, por inserir agulhas em brasa pela uretra até o escroto de quem nos ofende, por trasladar países com sofrimento, por amar o vilão para que possamos eliminá-lo sem culpa, por nos dar motivo para odiar. Obrigado, Senhor. 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 Obrigado.